Good evening, and welcome to this week's installment of the Purpose, Value, and Meaning web classes. Tonight's topic is how self-sabotaging affects us. I'm Keisha Golder, and I help women define their unique purpose so that they can live a life that they created on their own terms. I also created the Your Life Purpose Makeover Journey, which is a 3-stage, 9-step program, but I'll talk more about that later. I'm going to take a second to remind everyone that there will be a question and answer section towards the end of the presentation. So if you can hold your questions until then, I would greatly appreciate it. Of course, before we jump into tonight's topic, we're going to recap quickly what we talked about last week. And last week was what living in your purpose or finding your purpose means. So before we could figure out what finding your purpose actually meant, of course, we needed to talk about what purpose actually was. Then we needed to know what it means to live with a purpose and why having a purpose is important. So tonight we are going to talk about self-sabotaging, how it affects us. So in order to do that, we need to talk about what self-sabotaging is, what it can look like in people, and of course, how we can stop self-sabotaging so that we can live in our purpose. What is self-sabotaging? Self-sabotaging, simply put, is doing things that prevent you from getting the outcome that you want. Now, self-sabotaging and all related behaviors interfere with you achieving your objectives or goals through unconscious and sometimes conscious self-handling. So it can be a manifestation of beliefs that have been embedded in you since childhood that will lead you to failure. Self-sabotaging can also be a residual effect of your belief in yourself, your self-confidence in yourself. So if you don't feel confident enough that you're able to follow through and complete something to finish, chances are you may sabotage your progress so that you don't finish it. And if you don't finish it, it's not that you're a failure, it's just that you did not complete it. Now, what are negative beliefs that are associated with self-sabotaging? Some of these beliefs are you just don't feel like it. You're not feeling up to doing it. You feel like you're an imposter, which is also known as imposter syndrome. And it's an excessive expectation of something so as not to confront it, meaning that you have expectations that are so high about something that you know your expectations are too high, but you rather just not do it, not complete it, not finish it, not even look at it because you know that the expectations you have for this particular thing are too high and you'll never meet them. We all, have experiences where we have feelings that there are things, big changes are coming or brand new experiences. And sometimes when we have these feelings, we feel like we are not going to be able to live up to the challenges or the expectations of it. Take, for instance, starting a new job. It's a job, you're qualified for it because, of course, you got the job, but you have never done this job before. So you begin to question your abilities as to whether or not you're good enough for this job. That's kind of like imposter syndrome. And it's also believing in yourself that you don't believe that you're good enough to fulfill the requirements of this job. So instead of you not taking the job, you take the job, you start the job, and you do work, but the work is not the quality that you would produce if you were comfortable in the position that you were in, if you believed in yourself. And so you're not doing the quality of work that you know that you are capable of. You are sabotaging your role in this job. So that is one way that self-sabotage can manifest itself from these negative beliefs. And different people, the difference between people who self-sabotage and those who do not is that the people who self-sabotage are overwhelmed by these negative feelings and negative beliefs. They just feel that they won't make it. They don't believe in themselves. They don't have the support of themselves or other people around them. And they don't know how to come out of those negative feelings and fears. So, what does self-sabotaging look like? Self-sabotaging looks like several different things. As I stated, it can manifest itself in multiple ways. One of those ways is blaming others when things go wrong. I'm sure you have either done it, I know that I have, or you know someone who's done it. When things don't go the way that you want them to go, you put the blame on everyone else around you because it's easier to blame someone else for the failure instead of taking accountability for the part that you played in it. For me, I don't do this. I hardly ever do this one anymore because yes, I've worked on it. I'm not as bad as I used to be, but of course I'm human, so sometimes I may fall back into those traps. But when at one point when I was in a I used to didn't call myself, yes I did, the queen of self-sabotaging. I would self-sabotage anything. But I always stated that it was like a defense mechanism for me. Not really, but it made me feel better about self-sabotaging, so that's what I went with. So when I used to blame other people, I knew exactly the role that I played in the situation. I knew exactly what I did. But why am I going to take the blame for something? I didn't want it to happen, but the other person or the other people involved didn't do anything to stop the situation from going the way that it went. So, yeah, it's easier for me to blame them than take responsibility for my actions. The other way that self-sabotaging can manifest itself or how it looks is choosing to walk away when things don't go smoothly. Now, this one can be a tricky one because, of course, if we're in certain situations and we know that we need to walk away, it is okay to walk away. That's not the type of situation that I'm talking about. I'm talking about when things are just going every which way. And instead of you trying to figure out how to rein everything in so that it goes smoothly or according to your plan, throw your hands up and you walk away. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore because it's just messed up. Children do that. We're all adults. Children do that when they're frustrated because they are not able to express how they genuinely feel because sometimes they don't know or don't have the vocabulary to express how they feel. And they are still learning how to process their emotions. Why, as adults, do we just throw up our hands and walk away or have temper tantrums when things don't go the way that we want them to go? The third way self-sabotaging can look is through procrastination. This one was my favorite. And I'm the queen of procrastination. Oh, it's because I do my best work under pressure. Yeah, I may have done good work under pressure, but think about how much better the final product could have been if I actually gave the project or whatever it is the amount of time that it actually deserved. And I know that there are so many people that procrastinate and literally use the same thing. I do my best work under pressure. They're doing themselves a disservice, just like I used to do myself a disservice. And procrastination looks like talking on the phone, being on the computer, scrolling social media for hours and hours on end when you have a pile of work this high to get done. And I'll get to it later. But it doesn't work like that. You can get to it later, but is the final product going to be enough for you to keep your job or get an A on a paper, earn a scholarship? So this is important when we try to convince ourselves that procrastination is good for us because we get our best work done. Another way that self-sabotaging can look is through picking fights with your family and friends or partners. This is when people are always on the defense. You can say something, you can say the sky is blue. And that person is going to pick a fight with you because they're going to say the sky is green. Now, you both see that the sky is blue, but because they may feel like this friendship is going too smoothly or things are going along a good path, that they need to shake things up, they're going to pick fights. They're going to start arguments. They're going to make sure that there is some type of friction because they don't believe that things can run smoothly. They don't believe that things can be effective. This is self-sabotaging. I have never picked fights, but I have been a person who was very defensive. You could say something to me and I would withdraw and withdraw from that person. No, I don't want to talk about it. You hurt my feelings, and that's it. And I'm drawing in on myself, not even giving the situation a chance to evolve or clear itself up. But it wasn't a need for that because it really wasn't a situation. I was just doing these things because, hey, things are running a bit too smoothly and I needed to shake something up. Dating people who aren't right for you. Now, you're probably like, how is that self-sabotaging? Think about it. If you are in the reason, number one, for dating is to find someone to marry, find someone to be a life partner, find someone to build a life with that you are going to be happy with. But if you are dating someone who is emotionally unavailable, chances are you're not going to find your husband or your wife because that person is not able to love you the way that you need to be loved or provide you the things that you need to be in a long-term relationship. So you're seeking out these people and you're going into it knowing that, hey, this is what I want, this long-term relationship, but this person is not going to be able to give it to me. And I'm fine with that because I'm really deep down inside scared of actually finding somebody who is going to be able to love me the way that I need to be loved, who's going to support me and encourage me. So if I date this emotionally unavailable person, I don't have to worry about getting what I really want, which is true love and being happy for the rest of my life. And when we break up, I can just blame it on them because, of course, I don't want to take accountability for anything that goes wrong. Another way that people self-sabotage is they have trouble stating their needs. You cannot expect someone to know what you need in life if you cannot tell them. Nobody is a mind reader. No one, regardless of how many people say that they're psychic and all of these things, no one can read your mind. You have to be able to tell someone what it is that you need, what your expectations are, how you are feeling, so that they can either change how they are moving or y'all can talk about ways that you can compromise and things like that. So when you are unable to state these to people, and I'm not just speaking about in relationships, this can be at work, this can be at school, this can be just in your house with your children. You need to be able to state what it is that you want. because you can't get it if you can't verbalize it. And the last way that people self-sabotage is by putting themselves down. We all know people who put themselves down. They talk down to themselves. They negative self-talk. They do all of these things to discourage themselves from going after their dreams, from going after the life that they want. But this stems from limiting beliefs, which is a part of their belief system. These things may have been embedded in them from childhood, and no one ever saw the need to change it because, of course, this is what has been passed down, and I'm going to stick with it because it hasn't gone wrong since. Not knowing that during the course of life, we're building generational issues inside of our family because we don't switch up. We don't learn how to be good to ourselves. You have to be good to yourself before you can be good to anyone else. And the relationship that we have with ourselves determines how all other relationships around us are going to be. So what causes self-sabotaging? We know what self-sabotaging looks like. So what causes it? One, patterns in childhood. Some of us may believe this, others of us may not. But we learn patterns early in our childhood, early in life, through the relationships that we have with our parents and families. And so these are repeated throughout our lives. These patterns are often repeated. And we repeat them because we're connected to them. We know what they feel like. We know what these patterns bring to us, but we don't know how to let go of these patterns. Even if we are no longer resonating with them, even if we're no longer aligned with these patterns, we find it hard to let go of them because they have been in our lives from the beginning. Limiting beliefs. So this is where we would work on getting rid of those, getting rid of these limiting beliefs so that we are believing in ourselves, knowing that everything that we've learned up until a certain point is no longer resonating with where we are going. Past relationship dynamics can also cause self-sabotaging when you are not able to express your needs, like I stated with telling someone what you need. If you can't express those needs in relationships, you're going to continue to repeat that in future relationships. If you've continued to do it in past relationships during the future and you haven't learned how to express yourself in between, it's going to keep repeating yourself and you're just going to keep spinning in this cycle of self-sabotaging. Fear of failure is another cause of self-sabotaging. No one wants to fail. No one wants to fail. But truth be told, if we don't fail, we don't learn and we don't grow. So we have to learn to kind of be okay with failing, because when we fail at something, there's a lesson in it, and it's a lesson of what not to do the next time we try. And then we learn other ways of trying to be successful from our failure. And the last way is a need for control. A need for control. Some of us, myself included, feel or have felt the need to control everything. So if we're in a situation, we have projects, we have all of these things that we don't feel that we're in control of, that we don't feel that we're on top of, or someone else is doing, but we're not in control. So when we're not in control, we do not feel comfortable. What are we going to do? We're going to self-sabotage, because the act of self-sabotaging allows you to feel like you are in control of something. Not that it's a good thing to be in control of, but you feel that you are in control of something. So these are the ways that self-sabotaging is caused. Now, how Do you stop self-sabotaging? Way number one is to identify your behaviors. Of course, no one likes to admit that they self-sabotage. And I can tell you, when I actually was able to identify, oh, you're doing this on purpose. Like, you're self-sabotaging because you want X, Y, and Z. I didn't want to believe it. I never said it out loud. It was always in my head. No, I'm not. I don't do that. And I literally had a conversation with myself. Do I do that? No, I don't do that. And I kept going back and forth. And then I finally was like, yes, I do this. I keep myself from being great because I'm afraid of failing. I don't want someone to look at me and say, she didn't do that right. She wasn't good at this. She this, she that. So I would intentionally self-sabotage. And once I was able to identify that I self-sabotaged, I was able to say, okay, well, now that I know that I do this, what can I do to change it? And so the next thing that you need to do is to learn what triggers you, what sets you off. Is it someone yelling? Is it being in a certain type of situation? What are the things that set you off to feel that you have to completely derail everything that's going good in your life? Once you get that down packed, guess what's next? Understanding and practicing getting comfortable with failure. Like I said, from every failure, there is a lesson, and you cannot learn the lesson unless you fail. So you have to remind yourself, it's okay that I did not excel this time, because next time I do it, I'm going to excel because I've learned what I need to do now. And I learned this way that's better for me to do it. Another way that you can stop self-sabotaging is to talk about it. And I'm not saying talk to anyone. You can talk to someone who is supportive of you, family, friend, partner. You can go out here and get a mentor or a coach. These people are there to help you. Not only they're not coaches and mentors are not here to tell you what to do, but they're here to hold you accountable. So when you talk about your self-sabotaging habits, guess what? Your thought process starts to change. And as you're talking about it, you're not doing it. You're not sabotaging. Because you are talking about it, you're working through your need to self-sabotage through talking. And the last way is to identify what you really want. So if you have no idea what it is that you want out of life, how can you know what to stop self-sabotaging? You have to be able to know what you want, be definitive, know what you want, how you want to get it, what it is that you are willing to do to get it, and what you will not do to get it. And knowing what you want aligns you with your purpose. And when you're able to do that, you won't sabotage it, because you'll understand that you have the tools and you're able to move along the journey to get to where you need to be. It's something that everyone should remember, that by recognizing these behaviors, you're taking the first step towards changing. You cannot change something if you cannot identify it. So when you recognize your self-sabotaging behaviors, you're on the road to recovery. You're on the road to changing these behaviors and this mindset, so that you can progress, so that you can get to the point where you want to be, and you can live the life that you dream of living. If anyone has any questions right now, I'll take them. You can unmute yourself, or you can type them in the chat box and I will answer them. Okay, so I love to keep in touch with everyone. So here's where you can find me. You can find me on Facebook at Coach Keisha Golder. YouTube at Keisha Golder, LinkedIn, Keisha Golder, and of course, my website, KeishaGolder.com. You can watch past web classes on the website. You can view blog posts. You can leave comments, suggestions for things that you believe that I should talk about during the weekly purpose, meaning, and value web classes. Just become part of the community so that we're always in touch. Now, next week, we are going to talk about how having self-confidence helps you live with your purpose. Here's the life purpose makeover journey. And of course, I talked about self-sabotaging, but self-sabotaging stems from limiting beliefs, which is a part of your belief system. So in this aspect, if you came to me with self-sabotaging and limiting beliefs, we're going to work to make sure that we're able to change those beliefs to positivity and figure out what is holding you back as far as your limiting beliefs so that we can reroute them to benefit you as far as getting you to where you need to be, and so that you can actually believe in yourself and know that you can achieve whatever it is that you set out to do. So I thank you for joining me tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week.